All right, Ray. I'm excited for our episode today. This is going to be so much fun. I thought it'd be fun to see if we could stump each other with some questions today. So I've got a few questions prepared.
Oh, good. So you're not supposed to know the answer to these questions? Is that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see if you know these because that'll be interesting. So, all right. Well, before we start though, we can jump right into it. But let me tell everyone why we're here, because this is the podcast that accompanies the DOT analysis platform, where we discuss real-time trends in the truck insurance market and explore answers to the questions you're not allowed to ask. I'm Ray.
And I'm Ben. And this is the Inside Lane.
All right, we say that, but we say that the questions you're not allowed to ask, but we are now asking them explicitly. So
we are. Yeah, I thought of the perfect analogy, at least in my mind, it was perfect. The perfect analogy for that the other day. So Here, play this out with me for a second and see how this goes, okay? Imagine that I got the in to do a African safari. I was like, hey, Ray, you want to go on this African safari with me? Yes. You'd want to go, right?
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
All right, if I said to you, we've got to get there, though. What would be your preferred way of getting to Africa?
Well, I could take a cruise, which would be kind of fun, but I don't know if I have enough time, so I would definitely fly.
All right. Well, interesting you say that. I mean, I would obviously choose to teleport. I'm not sure why you want the 20-hour flight.
I did not know that was an option. So yes, okay. If that is an option, I will teleport, but I just flying would be my default.
Okay, so that answer right there perfectly illustrates the point that I want to make with this. And that is that we so often limit what we think about and what we do in life by the extent or the capacity of our imagination or our belief about what's possible.
Yeah.
And I think you experience this as well. I experience this all the time with onboarding new teams or even working with customers who have been in this platform, this DOT analysis platform for a while, that they're limited only by the extent of the capabilities of their imagination for the types of questions they can ask. And as you start to push back the boundaries of what's actually possible, boy, do the opportunities open up, and the insights that come out when you start to expand those boundaries is really incredible.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, are we doing anything else before the questions? Because otherwise, I have my first question. If I can go first.
Yeah, go for it. There's no specific format. We'll just see. We'll see how we do on these.
Okay. Well, all right. Sounds good. Well, the briefing notes for this episode were very light, so I didn't know exactly where we're going. But all right. So here's the question. I'll kind of tell you the context. So there was a producers meeting for an insurer that a whole bunch of different producers went to, right, from a whole bunch of different agencies. And this particular agency had been a customer of ours for a while. And they went to this producers meeting. It was a producers meeting for National Interstate. And of course, many people in the market know National Interstate's got a pretty decent sized book in trucking. And they at the end of that, the National Interstate was asking for feedback about, anything that they can do better, right? And so this particular insurer or this particular agency, through one of their producers, reached out to me and was like, "Hey, can you help me ask some of the right questions of National Interstate for this? Yeah, to submit their feedback on how the meeting went." And I said, "Well, I wasn't at the meeting, but you were." And, so let's look at their book of business and try to match up some of the context for the things they talked about with what we can see in market intelligence. So,
are you getting to a question here, Ray?
I get into a question.
Okay.
All right. So here's the question. As we were talking, we found 5 states, and here's what I put in my notes. This is what I wrote down. We found 5 states where they have literally 0 net growth in fleets over the past year. And there's states where they actually have a decent number of phenomenal fleet accounts, National Interstate.
Just no growth?
No growth at all. Totally no growth. So
existing business, no new business in 5 states. Is this going to be a multiple choice, or do I have to just come up with this out of 50 states?
This is going to be so easy. You just have to get one in order to get a point. So you've got,
oh boy,
you got a pretty good chance here. So there's 5 of them that I wrote down here. All you have to do is give me one. Come on, that should be easy.
Okay. I mean, I'm thinking it's got to be one of the less common states, one of the lower states.
Well, you're looking to the side, so I'm suspicious.
I'm just looking at a map. I'm not looking at National Interstate. I'm only looking at a map. I would say let's try one of the Dakotas. Let's try North Dakota.
All right, so let's see if you're right. I'm going to jump into market intelligence, and I'm going to pull up National Interstate's book of business here.
I guess a couple of states before you show me?
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah. So I'm going to take your first one as your official guess, but let's just see what your second and third guess would be, though.
All right, I'll go North Dakota. We'll try New York. That's a tough state. And just for fun, Arizona and Nevada. So those would be my guesses.
All right. Well, I said you could guess one, but I for the point, we'll count one, but that's good. All right. So here we go. Check this out. All right.
North Dakota's negative. Okay. And I got Nevada.
But here's the thing. Now check this out. Remember,
are we on fleets, or are you just on National Interstate right now?
We're just on National Interstate right now.
Oh yeah. Okay. So the picture's going to change. That's right. See, this is your very specific question, your imagination.
This is right, because here's the thing. This producer wanted to know something about their appetite, and this revealed itself to us as we were combing through their book of business. So, okay, there's 2 things. You picked out the first one, which was we need to just look at their fleet book, right? So, okay, Now I'm looking at their fleet book.
Okay, so not a huge change just going to that. I saw a few states drop out of there.
So here we go. This is what's really fascinating. I am just looking at their fleet book, but notice how they have a decent number of Canadian filings, or I should say filings for motor carriers domiciled in Canada. That's a better way to say that. So I just want to take those out of the picture. I'm just going to look at the whole U.S. by putting these 4 U.S. regions. All right, so here we go. Here are some states that have fleet presence, but zero growth. Oregon, Idaho, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. And then this is kind of cheating because I wish you could combine them, but Nevada had -1 and Utah had +1, so they kind of net out to be nothing. But amazingly, here's what the producer wanted to know. They wanted to know, okay, National Interstate, you've got growth and fleet all over the place. What in the world's going on out west? Why is there no growth in your fleet book out west? But yet, if I click on here, like, look at this. I have some phenomenal fleets in Idaho.
Yeah.
Why aren't you growing there? You have a good book. So there we go.
All right. So did the producer get an answer to that question directly from National Interstate, or is that still just a hypothesis about the reason right now?
Well, they are going to fire off that question to National Interstate based on that meeting. So we'll find out. I don't know. Yeah. It's a really good question. So I didn't do
too bad on my state guesses here, right? North Dakota is negative. How many do they still have in North Dakota?
Yeah, they got 3. So they lost
pretty low.
They lost one over there. You're right.
And then is New York? New York is flat, so that was correct, right?
Yeah. So, man,
and then Arizona.
Well, you got Arizona. Yeah, there you go. Not bad. So there we go. There's my first question. Fascinating, but that's really such a good thing to be able to see, because if you can't see someone's book of business, you can't actually ask informed questions even.
Right. Okay. Super all right. Well, let me get a question out here now. Let's see. All right. So my first one is a fleet question as well.
Okay.
This is related to Acuity. So Acuity is well known for writing short radius business, right? Like 500-600 mile max is kind of their published
That's kind of their sweet spot.
Everybody knows that.
Yep.
All right. But if we look at the entire fleet market, Acuity is actually the second highest insurer by weighting as far as the number of fleets that they insure. What is one of the other top 2, or one of the other 2 in the top 3 for insurance companies that insure fleets overall? And this is multiple choice, so I'll give you 4 choices. So
Okay.
two of these
All
4,
right.
unless you want to just guess without multiple.
No, I'll take
choice.
multiple choice. You give me multiple choice. I'm not okay.
All right.
Yeah, whatever.
So there's 4 answers. 2 of these are the other 2. We'll see if you can guess at least one of them, or which 2 of these 4 are also in the top 3. Okay.
Okay.
So insurance companies that insure the most fleets in the U.S. So the options are Old Republic, Travelers, National Interstate, or Century.
Man, how are we? And we're defining fleets as 10 or more units.
10 or more units. Yep. So Acuity, we talked about their low radius, but and I'm sorry, that is the category. Who else insures that low radius? That is what I was
because you're
looking
just
at.
talking. Okay, okay. I was confused because you're talking
overall,
about just
low radius fleets.
Low radius fleets.
Yes, I'm sorry I didn't make that clear in my question initially. So
Okay,
yeah, that's what I wanted to specifically understand is Acuity says that that's their specific appetite. So
Right.
they do insure a lot of that business, but they're actually
Right.
number 2. So what are the other 2 that are number 1 and number 3 out of that list who also insures the short radius or the smaller radius fleets?
Okay, that makes way more sense to me. So at first I was confused because I thought you were talking about just, writers of fleet business overall, but you're asking for the number 1 and the number 3 insurer of 500-600 mile and less radius for fleet business.
Correct.
Okay. And tell me my options again for my,
okay.
I'll write them down here.
So short radius fleets, number 1 and number 3. Your choices are Old Republic, Travelers, National Interstate, or Century.
I'm going to, if it's National Interstate, then I'm going to be bummed because I've just been looking at their book specifically for that, for that agent. I'm going to go with Century is number 3. And I'm going to go National Interstate is number 1.
Wow. Okay. All right. So to do this, let's go into the Market Explorer to look at the answer here. And we'll actually step our way through this. So your first thing of clarifying the low radius, let's just look at fleets first. And so we'll see how it adjusts when we trim down, when we add the radius filter. So if we go into here and just look at the 10 or more units.
All right. So I'm on Market Explorer. I'm just looking at if it's got 10 or more units. And
so we've got the whole market. Yeah. So we got the whole market of 10 or more units. On the side there gives us the weighting of insurance companies. So let's just look at where that is ranked. Read off the first 6 there.
All right. So I got at the top, Great West, then National Interstate, then Old Republic, then Progressive, Century, Acuity, Berkeley, Zurich, and the list keeps going.
Yeah, so on and so forth. All right. So now let's take just that. I included the unknown radius in here too, because most of those are the real short radius guys too. So let's go to the radius filter and we'll add the unknown up through 500 miles and then see who's got those fleets.
Okay, so here we go because I'm going to see our answer here.
Yep.
Let's see if I'm right. Oh man, I did not expect that. Old Republic. Dang.
Number 1 for short radius fleets. And then Acuity pulls up to number 2 in the list. So substantially better than they are overall in fleets for the short radius guys.
That is so
number 3.
Unexpected.
And then number 3 is your National Interstate guess.
Okay, so I was kind of right on National Interstate, but I think I said they would be first.
Yep.
And Century's not even I have to go way down to see them.
Yeah, isn't that interesting that you would have assumed they do have a lot of fleet business, but not in the lower radius. So
yeah, that is. I never would have assumed that. Am I allowed to do this? I'm going to go to Market Intelligence. I'm going to look at Old Republic because now I want to know. I didn't realize Old Republic's book was that big just because I think of Old Republic and I think of Great West and I think of the connection there. But Old Republic actually has quite a few filings. That's all right. Well, I'm always
really
surprised.
Interesting, huh?
Yep.
All right. I think it's your turn now. Next question.
Okay. All right. So here we go. So I'm going to, this question it's kind of a 2-parter. I couldn't really separate it. So call it one question. Okay. So here it is. It's also based on National Interstate because it was such a good conversation that I had. There was so many things that are in there. I had to pick this one. So Can you guess, this is very trivia-ish, but can you guess how many years National Interstate's longest standing relationship is with one of their customers? And specifically, it is a 200 plus unit fleet. If I remember right, I think it was 200 plus. We'll see here in a second, but it was a large fleet. So of their fleet customers, who's got the longest standing relationship in that large motor carrier? And not who is it, but how many years do you think it is? If you're within 5 years, I'll give you the point.
Wow. Okay. Well, obviously, I've not looked at anything that specific in their book, so I'm just going to guess, and I will guess 32 years.
No, but that's not a terrible guess.
Okay.
So,
not within 5, though?
not within 5. So, all right. So check this out. I'm going to go to Market Intelligence, and let's open up National Interstate. And I came across this, and the second piece of the question that I have yet to tell you is actually going to bring, I think, what's the most interesting. So check this out. I'm looking at their fleets that are 100 plus trucks in the 5 or more years, and it is,
how many total do they have there?
They got 167, so it's a decent number of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this specific fleet is actually in Ohio. So check this out. They got 8 of them. And this one right here, Nick Strimbu, they have been with them for 24 years.
Oh, man. All right.
So you were within striking distance there.
Yep. All right.
So 24 years.
A little aggressive on my 32 guess. That's a long time.
Yes. All right. So if you don't have an answer to this next one, that's totally fine. But can you guess what captive program they are in? Which, ironically, is probably why they've been there for so long, which makes sense. Because when you're captive, you're captive.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So they are in the Voyager captive program.
Okay.
And given the length of time, so if I go to here to history, check this out. They're with National Interstate all the way back in 2002, but it looks like they switched to Voyager in 2008. So good long-term relationship that they have there, but it's just so fascinating to see that, okay, they started with National Interstate, took them a couple of years, now they got in a captive, but that is a phenomenal long-term relationship. And I don't know. I think there's great value in understanding the relationships that insurers have with the motor carriers and the longevity of them. It's just so cool. I like seeing that. So there you go.
Yeah. So did you filter through all to find that, or did you find a shortcut to figure out the oldest client?
Well, we were just noting in our conversation, some of the long enduring clients and relationships that they had in there. And that, this conversation that I had with this producing group was taking so many different routes. And the reason I ran into that is because we were riffing on National Interstate, and we were riffing on the concept of, how long are their relationships enduring? And so we went and, filtered through that and looked through Market Explorer, and then ended up getting to, okay, how long are they staying? How long do their captive members stay? And so we found some examples just to show that, man, when you jump into a captive with National Interstate, you're probably really happy because a lot of them stay for a really long time.
Yeah.
So there's like 1,000 questions and answers that are packed into that whole conversation. But those are 2 really interesting ones that speak to the nature of their book of business.
Yep. All right. Well, that was a very, very specific question. I've got
specific.
I got a little broader one for my next one here. And this is related to a conversation we've been having over the last few weeks here. I know we've discussed it on a couple of the other podcasts and some of our other client content and communication that's gone out. But this is related to Clear Blue. So here's my question. Clear Blue has been growing like crazy in the last year or two, especially in Texas. That's what we've discussed in previous podcasts and with customers. What competitor are they taking the most business from right now of everyone else?
Overall, or in Texas only?
Well, because there's so much business in Texas, it is in Texas, but we'll just say overall. But when we pull it up and look at the answer, you'll see that it's almost entirely Texas, because that's almost exclusively where Clear Blue is. But not only they're taking the most business from, but they are smoking them in the head-to-head right now.
Wow.
So actually a pretty big story.
That is cool. So who is Clear Blue taking the most business from? Now, is this any business or fleets or non-fleet or just anything?
Any business right now.
Okay.
And
who is Clear Blue?
I want to see if you have a off the cuff answer, and then I'll give you a few choices if you don't.
Okay. My off the cuff answer was going to be Trisura.
Okay.
That's just the first thing that came to mind.
Guess.
Because I think, well, there's so many different things on Trisura that's what my first thought was. But give me some multiple choices.
All right. So Trisura was not actually in my multiple choice options.
So I'm clearly wrong.
So, all right. Progressive, Canal, Geico, or Accredited?
Oh, interesting. Progressive, Canal, Geico, or Accredited. I'm going to pick Progressive. And I don't know for sure if that's right, but they've been getting their lunch eaten by Geico, and it just seems like it would be in theme for their lunch to get eaten by someone else as well.
So before I found the answer to this, I would have guessed Geico. And it's because like we've unpacked Geico's book in some previous episodes as well.
Yeah.
And they have a huge book in Texas. And just because of the volume of business there and the amount of single unit business Geico has, which single unit tends to move a lot more frequently than fleet does.
Right.
So those two alone would have made me say, well, anyone who's doing well in Texas is probably taking a lot of Geico's book. So pull up Clear Blue and let's see whose business they're taking.
All right. So market intelligence, going to Clear Blue. And you want me to select just Texas?
Before you scroll down, just hover over the map so we can see where their policies are located. Look how many of those are in Texas.
It's basically all Texas.
Right? I mean, it's crazy how much they have and how it's honestly surprising how diversified the map is for how little business is actually not in Texas.
Yeah, you went through all the hoops in Arkansas to write 7 policies.
Right. That's what I mean. Isn't that almost
right? Yeah.
More surprising in and of itself?
It is. Yep.
All right. So scroll down below the map and let's look at who they're taking their business from.
Although before I do that, maybe I'll just say, having that information at our fingertips, maybe that's an indication that they intend to grow more in those other states.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah. It's hard to think that they're not intending to, but
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
All right. So I'm going to scroll down and Accredited.
Yeah. So not only are they getting the most business from Accredited, but take a look at the win-loss rate. Well, here, let's do it this way. First of all, you'll see that who they're losing business to, Accredited's not even in the top of that list. But now, as an alternative, pull up Accredited's book instead.
Okay.
Because not only is Clear Blue winning, so that's the majority of their inflows are coming from Accredited, but go look what's happening to Accredited.
Oh yeah, look in Texas, man, they're
getting pummeled, and look at who their top loser is. So not only is Clear Blue taking the most of Clear Blue's book is coming from Accredited, but Accredited is losing the majority of their business to Clear Blue. So there is a giant hole in the bottom of their bucket that's aimed directly at Clear Blue right now.
That's so great.
Is there any other way to understand
every
this?
Motor carrier with Accredited in Texas now? That's amazing.
Well, but here, you want another interesting tidbit here though, because you're on Accredited right now, right?
Yeah.
So they're losing most of their business. They're losing is going to Clear Blue,
right? But a lot of Progressive.
But where is Accredited getting business from? Because they are still writing business. Who are they writing most of it from?
Oh, they're taking it from Progressive.
And how much are they losing to Progressive?
Oh, about half. Look at that. They took 1,400. They lost 700.
So Accredited, even though they're bleeding overall and they're way down in total business, they're still writing a lot of business, and they're winning 2-1 against Progressive. But Clear Blue, not even on the map, they're just literally just fire hosing business to Clear Blue. So something very unique within these programs is going on that's causing business to shift in huge tranches between these different insurers. Isn't that fascinating?
That is really fascinating. All right. Well, yeah, I did not know. I did not get to the level of unpacking that story. That's really cool.
Yeah, so I'm sure we're going to do more segments on that because what's evolving there in the South and among these insurers is really interesting. I'm sure this isn't the end of this yet. This is continuing to evolve in real time here.
Yeah, I have heard rumblings and I've heard things about Clear Blue recently from other conversations that we've been having with our customers. And yeah, I usually don't dive into Clear Blue's book with people as often as I think you are doing, but that is really neat to know. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for my third one?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, this one isn't so crazy niche, but it's ironically, it's kind of in the theme of what you just were talking about there. So I've been running into this particular book of business, and it's similar to your question, but I'm going to kind of flip it on its head. So I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm going to give you 4 options, and I want to know if you've run into this story during any of our customer meetings or onboardings or, working with anybody, because I have been running into this with multiple people. And I specifically got a phone call about this last week and had a phenomenal conversation about this book. This is a small-ish regional book of business insurer that writes in about 20 states. We'll just call it 15 to 20. And they've got less than 1,000 filings. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they have been growing quite dramatically over the past, call it year, a little more than that.
Okay.
They have not been traditionally a big player, but they're growing, especially for the size of the size of their book and where it's come from. So I'm going to give you 4 options. You tell me if you've run into one of these 4 that fit that bill. The first one is Western National Mutual, County Mutual Insurance, Midwest Family Mutual, and Pekin Insurance Company.
Yeah, let's just go with the Midwest Mutual. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Well, amazingly, that's it.
Oh,
so check
it sounded
this
right.
out.
It sounded right to me.
That's right. All right. Well, it did. So maybe you overheard my conversation this week and you've been eavesdropping.
So tell a little bit, where did this come from?
So here's where this came from. I had Midwest Family Mutual come up with multiple conversations, totally different underwriting and totally different groups that brought to the table conversations about Midwest Family Mutual because they were either encountering them in the market for the first time, or they were competing against them, not for the first time, but more recently than they had in the past. And if you look at this is so incredible. So I said, hey, let's just jump in and look at their book of business. And of course, it's kind of like what you said before. People, even though sometimes they have access to our tools, if they are a newer group that's onboarded with us, they don't always remember, oh, I can do that. That's right. And then you can jump in here and see so much context. So look at this.
They fly when they should teleport.
Yes, they fly when they should teleport. That's exactly the case. And that's what they were doing. So they flew to me and said, hey, Ray, help us understand this. And I said, well, hit the teleport button and you can understand that. And they said, oh, that's great. So we teleported in here and we looked at Midwest Family Mutual's new business. Look at this. I mean, again, I said small regional insurer, and they are. So it's not like it's huge. But look at that, 51% increase in new business over the past year. I mean, that's great growth. That's really cool.
Yeah. So just to clarify then, because you just adjusted some filters there quickly. And so for people who aren't watching this either, so you pulled up not only Midwest Family Mutual, but now you change the selector to, instead of looking at their entire book, you limited it to just new business. Right. So when you say growth, this is comparing how much new business they've written in the last 12 months versus a year ago. That's what you're saying is 50% growth?
That's correct. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is 50% growth. So that's really, an interesting and exciting appetite to be able to watch. And here's what's also fascinating. You look at here, look at the radius that they have appetite for new business in.
Oh,
it's ironically, it's close to that Acuity appetite.
Yeah, that 300 to 500 range.
Yeah. So if I scroll down, who did they take those from? A lot from Great West, Progressive, Northland. Look at that.
Well,
Acuity
you're
all the way
looking
at the bottom.
just at the new business. So that is where their business came from.
Right.
It would be interesting to see Why don't you just turn back on their whole book, though? I'm curious to see what their inflows and outflows look like.
Yeah. So there you go. They lost a couple to Acuity, but it's just fascinating to see that there are markets out there that have appetite for this kind of risk, and some people
hover over the
names,
states a second there, because your first question had to do with declining business or National Interstate not writing out west. I see they do have some out west. Is that anything significant though?
Nothing huge. Like if I look at Utah here, they have 9, and they're all pretty small. They got 2 fleets, but yeah.
But it's nice to see a book of business that's not all overweighted with single unit. I mean, I see that like they're substantially non-fleet, but they don't just have a huge single unit book, which is more promising.
Yeah, yeah, and really, it also shows some of the quality of their underwriting appetite, that they're willing to look at, even though they're a smaller book of business, they're willing to look at more than just a single unit, because writing a single unit is definitely a different game than writing even something with 5 units. Definitely something different than a 25 unit. And look at that. They have 83 fleets that are in the 10 to 49 unit category. So
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, really fun to be able to talk about the real existence and the real complexion of a book of business when you encounter someone in the marketplace that maybe you've never encountered before. So it's a new challenge. And if you're flying blind, or I should say, yeah, if you're flying blind, you better teleport with eyes wide open. How about that?
Yeah, for sure.
So there you go.
You ready for my last question?
Let's hear it.
Okay. This is going to be an appetite related question. So I'll set it up that way. Okay. Because which interestingly, we haven't had any really appetite questions yet. So that'll be fun here. That's one of the most fun things to unpack in this software, isn't it?
Oh yeah. So fun.
Insurer appetite. Okay. So here's my appetite question. The setup is this: the top 5 insurers of fleets, so 10 or more units, what we looked at before are Great West, National Interstate, Old Republic, Progressive, and Century. So that's top 5 insurers of just fleets in general.
Okay.
Only one of those is currently writing new business that is substantially less red ISS than what their renewal book is. Which of those 5 has a substantially lower red ISS appetite for new business compared to what their existing book is? What do you think?
Oh, what an interesting question, because you can apply this knowledge in 2 different directions, both at what you're defending at renewal as an underwriter or as a producer, and what you're going out and trying to claim in new business as an agent or a underwriter. That is a wonderful question. All right. So what are my options?
All right. So it's one of those 5, but we're just looking at the top 5. So we could do this on any book, but I'm just not wanting to find some obscure one. So I'm taking the top 5. Yeah. And you can just pull up the list here if you want to see it. So if you just go to fleets.
All right.
So this will just show us who those are.
There we go. So Great West, National Interstate, Old Republic, Progressive, and I have Century here.
Yep. So of those 5, which one of them? So what we're going to do to find the answer is what we just looked at actually on the book that you just had up, where we compared new business to renewal business. We're going to look on market intelligence at the answer here, and we're going to see what their new business appetite is compared to their renewal business. So which one is writing substantially cleaner? And by cleaner, I just mean substantially lower red ISS percentage in their new business than on their existing books.
Oh, that's great.
The rest of them are either the other direction or essentially equal. There's one outlier.
You know what? I bet you that's Great West, because when I look at their book of business, like they appear to be doing okay at renewal, but struggling on new business. And I think it's because they've pulled their risk appetite in, and they are more afraid, if I can use that word. I don't know if it's appropriate here, but they're more afraid of red ISS.
Okay. Well,
that's my hypothesis. Should we check it?
Yep. So go to Market Explorer or Market Intelligence there.
All right.
Go to Great West. Yep.
Okay. I got Great West pulled up. And
so limit it to fleets.
Oh yeah. Limit it to fleets. All right. So I just got Great West with their fleet business. And then do you want to do just new business?
Let's do renewal first, and then we'll compare it to their new business. So look at just renewal.
They have 11% in red ISS.
All right. And so just once again, people who aren't watching, so let's just summarize what we have here. How many fleets do they have in their renewal book so we kind of know what our total numbers are?
About 2,400.
Yeah. So 2,400 fleets, 11% red ISS. That's their renewal book. So let's compare that to their new business.
All right. So new business book of fleets with Great West, 450 and 10%. Oh, so it's basically the same. So I'm wrong.
Basically the same. Only 1% different. Yeah. And they,
oh, man.
Right in the sense that, yes, they still have that pretty conservative appetite. And
yeah, they do.
Definitely, presumably an indicator of why they're not growing much right now, or actually are red in a lot of states, right?
Yeah, it definitely is the case. The next one I would look at would be Century.
Okay, pull Century up. Now, here's what I thought before I looked at Century. Century, I think, has the riskiest book, so I expected. So let's look at what their renewal
is first. So I'm looking at Century fleet business that's in their renewal book. They got 1,000. Oh yeah, 22% red ISS.
So their renewal book of, would you say 1,200 is what's in their renewal book right now? 1,100 policies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 21%.
22%.
22% red ISS. Okay, so let's compare that to their new business.
Their new business book. Oh, they're up for new business. That's kind of cool.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
17%. Well, that's a little different, but it's not a ton different.
It's not. That is the most of the, oh, I'm sorry. There is another one too. Yeah. So, but it is safer and still up clean, or still up in business. The fact that they've gotten a cleaner appetite and they're still growing is interesting. Because like we saw, Great West is not the case.
Yeah, right. that is.
Okay, we got one more to look at. Pull up National Interstate.
Oh my gosh, I should have known this because I was just in here. All right.
Yeah, they've been a recurring theme today.
They have. That's unbelievable. All right, so National Interstate, renewal business, they got 11 approximately. I'm rounding my numbers here. They got 1,100 fleets, and of those 1,100 renewal fleets, 11% of them are red ISS.
Yep.
So I'm going to switch this to new business. I'm looking at National Interstate's new business. They got 260 new business fleets this year. Oh, wow. 17%.
Yeah. So that's not lower. That's higher. So yeah, they're on the other side of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So let me put this
They're writing much riskier business than their renewal business.
So National Interstate has opened up appetite for more risk in new business than they're willing to renew.
You could, I mean, that's one hypothesis. Obviously, you can explain this a few different ways, right? I never want to be too quick to explain what the reason is, because it doesn't mean that's their willingness to renew. I mean, it could just mean that is the business that's on their books. And obviously, we're not looking at what they wrote it as. It's just the current status of that business is. So we don't want to get too presumptive there. But yeah, it indicates that they're definitely have a looser risk appetite for new business than just what their current book looks like for whatever reason.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's super cool.
Let me just summarize what we went through, because that was a little bit of a meandering path here. So of the top 5 insurance companies for fleets overall, no other criteria, we were looking for which insurer has reduced their risk appetite the most, in the sense that their new business is substantially less red ISS than their renewal business. And the answer to that was Century. Century has the biggest dip in new business that they're writing at only 17% red ISS compared to their renewal book of 22% red ISS. Everybody else, Great West and Old Republic, were essentially even. They were only off by 1%, so they're writing the same stuff that they're renewing. National Interstate was higher, so they're writing 17% red ISS with only 11% renewal. And Progressive also, their renewal business for fleet, this actually surprised me, was 13%. They're writing 20% red ISS. So Progressive is really loosening up their guidelines relative to their book, and they, of those 5, have the highest appetite for red ISS. So just something to be aware of out there, that all other things being equal, not just looking at the net difference either, but as far as total value, Progressive, 1 out of 5 fleets Progressive is writing right now is Red ISS.
Wow.
All right. Well, I think we each stumped each other pretty well today.
Yeah.
But this was a lot of fun to kind of banter back and forth on this. And just, I mean, we say fun all the time, but it really is fun to figure out how creative of questions you can not only ask, but then get answers to is super interesting. And when this comes out of client conversations and these answers are all driving real market results and real impact for the people you're working with, it's just great to get to see. And
well, it's such a driver of strategy. If you know what's happening in the marketplace at such a strategic level like this, then your daily focus changes, you know, whether it's how you're competing as an underwriter and setting pricing and adding credits or as a producer. I mean, in all those different disciplines and arenas, this strategic knowledge comes into play.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that comes to mind is like, you ever been like on a road trip and over time your windshield just gets dirtier and dirtier and dirtier, it's covered with bugs. Maybe you drove over the night.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And then you finally stop at a gas station. You're like, I'm just going to clean this windshield off. And you get back in the car and go, oh my word, I've been driving the whole time. Not like this is crazy how that's kind of what this feels like when you look at the market this way and then you realize, oh boy, I've been operating not without any intelligence or insights. A lot of people out there have great intuition and market knowledge, but it's like a foggy or a dirty windshield. Like this is not the clarity of picture that this provides. And once you realize the clarity that's possible, like, boy, clean that windshield off.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, that's a good analogy for sure.
Okay, well, that was fun for today. We'll see what we got in store for next week. But for now, I'm signing off.
All right, we'll see you guys later. See you next time.